And we're live. Hello and welcome to another Wednesday evening live show. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you're having a wonderful week. November has officially kicked off. We've recovered hopefully from Halloween, which, while an amazing holiday, it's a lot of stuff. Basically, the entire month of October is just very busy. It is. It's wonderful. But yeah, I'm dressed today as 90s girl. So this is how I will be coming to you today in Cozy Land. But yeah, so a few things I wanted to talk about tonight. Obviously, welcome everyone in the chat, see what all you're working on, introduce my friend, talk about some new leaks in the 40K realm, maybe chat a little bit about the Warmachine app, where it's at so far, and maybe even a little quick movie review. Let's see what all we can fit in tonight. So, of course, I've got my wonderful co-host here, Flo.
Hello, hello.
What are you working on today, darling?
I am working on some Malifaux. I have a commission tonight. I'm painting up the Sonia Creed crew.
Ooh, so commission paint happening live tonight. And yeah, what all is happening in the stream? Let me say hello to everybody. Or Jacob. I hope his headache goes away. It's always a miserable feeling. Well, it's like, especially if it's a migraine, because those are actually different. Thomas, welcome. Mr. Kyle, welcome to the chat. Paul, thank you for being here. I've barely talked to Paul at all for the last 2 weeks. I feel terrible, almost like, dude, I will totally hang out with you as soon as Halloween is over. And then, like, I've been sleeping. But we have to have a Phasmo night, and we have to have a Vermintide night before the 6th, I believe, because they're doing an event. Joe Okabayashi. Welcome. Jay Alex, good to see you, man. War Budgies, hey, good to see you. And the Plundered Den, welcome to the chat. Revok, welcome. Hello, Jacob, hope you're feeling better. Let's see here. And yes, Mr. Kyle is working on a Scorn Bronze Back Titan, so that should keep you occupied for a while. And Hammer, I'm painting up my Tree Dice Tower. Found it on Thingiverse and had it printed out. I'm so jazzed that it's both a dice tower and a nice piece of terrain. Oh, sweet. So does it like look more like a tree, or is it like one of those cell phone trees where they're obviously not a tree, but you can tell it's trying? Scott Alexander, welcome. War Budgies, packing up for Warfare Weekend tonight. I'll have to follow. I assume you're going to post about it on, what, Instagram or your YouTube? War Budgies has a YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out if you haven't, especially if you want some sweet Warcaster coverage. Let's see. Thomas, looking forward to seeing you at Warfare. Oh, you guys are going to get to see each other. Let's see. Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. Chuckaroo Bob. Hi, kids. Working on 2 1 of 50 Russian base 01G armored combat drones. 1 of 50 or 1/50th scale. Yeah, that makes more sense. Okay, sweet. Yes.
Oh, weird. I've always heard 1/48th scale, but never 1/50th.
It's just a little bit small.
Unfamiliar with it.
Teensy bit. Yes, Paul. Okay, so until November 6th. Yes, we'll have to make it happen. Instagram during the event and YouTube after. Sweet. The Tree Dice Tower looks like a large tree on a dirt mound with a small pool to collect the dice around the roots. That sounds lovely. Oh, and you posted a picture. Thank you so much. Let's see. It's for ultra modern games. Oh, okay. Futuristic Russia, if they were able to keep up. So Plundered Den, working on finishing painting some minis for a Secret Santa gift, as well as a thorn wall for my Zulu village. Ooh. Gosh, are we already at that point? Like, Secret Santa? I guess so. Like, it's about to that time where you've got to, if you participate in it, you have to start that process so that there's time to do the shopping and the shipping. And if you're shipping something, good luck. So, anyway. Well, what would you say we've been working on? I mean, you've been assembling some stuff.
Lots of GW terrain, the 40K terrain buildings. That's what I've been putting together.
Yeah.
I have a whole table of them soon.
You even kit bashed one of them, so.
Yeah, well, one so far, but I've also been 3D printing bases for them so that they kind of stand on a base and look cool.
Yes. More on that.
And once
to come.
those are all built, I paint them.
Yes, indeed. Hi, Melinda.
Hi.
Let's see. More veggies and locking the gift inside a homemade puzzle box for a third year in a row. Oh, and she's relieved to be done with Inktober. She's an illustrator, so I don't blame her for that. Yes.
I have a friend, him and his brother had an ongoing joke every year for Christmas. They would give each other the same old pair of socks, but they would find new ways to make it difficult to open it. And so the real trick was getting into it and then making it difficult for the other person to open it. I lost track of what happened after one of them learned how to weld.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow. Savage Brewski, yo, I finally made it back to the paint chat. Hey, Miranda and Flo, missed you. We missed you too. I hope you're doing all right. Well, I'm sure you all have heard the buzz about the internet, even if you're not a 40K player, but there were Imperial Guard codex leaks, and as somebody who sometimes plays Imperial Guard, I was very excited to hear about said leaks. So I listened to Mordian Glory and the other channel, Auspix Tacticus. I'm really good at forgetting all these poor people's names, especially of the 40K variety. But I'm excited to see what happens with these new Imperial Guard, what the new Imperial Guard Codex is going to look like. Even though it's going to be, I guess, the last Codex of this edition, most likely, or the first Codex of 10th. Well, I mean, we'll see, right? Let's see, 40K, Imperial Guard, leaks. Why can't I spell? There we go. Nope, still didn't do that right. Auspix Tactics. That was the other one I listened to. So they both did a really great breakdown of the new known and rumored stuff coming out in Imperial Guard, or Astra Militarum. I lost track of my streaming. There we go. So that's what I wanted to kind of go over and chat about what I was excited about, because not very long ago we had this like the game store here in town does these flea markets, I think, every quarter, and we got a really good deal on a bunch of Imperial Guard someone was liquidating, and all of it has to be stripped, but I got like a bunch of Bullgren in there, I got a bunch of armored sentinels, and all of those have gotten better according to the new leaks. So I feel like all the stuff I have base got better, and then I've got some Lehman Russes, those tanks to mess with, and then I really just need to start outfitting the other stuff. The Rogel Dorn looks really good. Looks like I'm going to need to get in on Basilisks because they're about to get a lot better. You know, things like that. Let's see, Jacob, the Karskin have me excited, but the Rogel Dorn tank, I don't know. So why? I keep hearing like some people being like, this is really awesome, and other people going, this is horrible. It's like a 250 point tank, which has a crazy loadout of weapons. I actually opened up the...
Is it just the rules that people don't like, or do people not like the look of it?
I've heard complaints mostly about the look, but I don't know. So there's like this spreadsheet you can pop up here to from Mordian Glory, he linked it, where you can see all of the rules on that. So yeah, the Rogel Dorn has a ton of weapons. It's just like bristling with weapons, which to me I'm like, oh, that sounds great. So you've got your twin battle cannon, or a Catigator. I wonder if that's supposed to be Castigator. Gatling gun.
I think it's Castigator.
Yeah, it sounds right.
I don't know, a Catigator might be really cool to see.
A Catigator. Oh,
That's what happens when you mix a cat and an
cat and
alligator.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Sounds like a new Asylum movie.
Tell me, is it the look or is it the rules that are not impressing you, good sir? Let's see. I'm busy AF. Haven't been able to hobby as much. Getting back to that soon. Dude, you gotta like carve out time for it anymore. And you've gotta like kind of know anymore as far as like hobby time. you kind of have to just schedule it and pretend, as far as anyone else is concerned, it's work. Because I've noticed when you just have a hobby and it's this thing you enjoy doing, it's also the type of thing that anyone in your life feels like they can easily just invade upon. Just be like, oh, you don't need to do that. Hey, I need your help with X. You're not doing anything. And you're like, but I am, though.
You're not doing anything that's worthwhile to me, though.
Well, right.
It just dawned on me, maybe it's a catagator is the kind of alligator that lives on the Catachan homeworld.
No, they would have a more manly name than that. It would be like a Catagator Rex.
Yes. There you go.
So much more manly. Why aren't I in charge of naming these? David Love, good evening. My paint table is filled with fantasy for Frostgrave and World War II models of 28mm U.S. Marine for bolt action. Good old bolt action. Saw some love this year at Valhalla, that's for sure. So he also sent Miranda the
seeing
new
more
Leech
and more
Guard
love every
pics
year.
from Balrac channel. What's that?
I say, bolt action sees more and more love every year, it feels like.
Yeah, no, it definitely gets a lot. See, the total Dorn seems way overpowered, but it's also trying to be an old school Lehman Russ exterminator with a different Primarch name, in my opinion. Okay, it's an interesting take. I have just always had Lehman Russes, and so like just having a different tank seems nice, but I don't really follow the lore that closely. Let's see, I don't know that about Warhammer, this new codex, like a new army or a new version of an older army. Sorry, new question. Oh, yeah, so you have a codex is just the army book for that specific faction in the game. So you have your core rules for Warhammer 40K, which is currently 9th edition, just kind of like at the end of its edition, nearabouts. You have that book, but in order to actually play with an army you've picked, Imperial Guard or Ultramarines or anything in the Chaos realm, you would have to buy a separate book for that specific faction, which then gives you all of the character model sheets or data slates for all of those specific models that you'd actually play with. So you have to use those 2 books, plus the FAQs, plus chapter approved, approximately, in order to get your game going.
Yes, it really is that hard to get into 40K, but it's loved by many people.
All right, Jacob's about to lay it out. It's a Lehman Russ, but better. The look, why? From sources, it looks like it's taken from multiple different tanks. Maybe. Also, Warbudgie says, Tommy, I think those are called T-Rexes.
So you were mostly right.
I was. A Catagator Rex. It's happening. Anyway, so you feel like the tank, the Rogaldorn, is like an amalgamation of what Lehman Russ and just like the other tinks that let me see if I can remember what their names are. Manticore, Hydra, like all of those squished together. And the turret to the body, it's all odd. Okay, so it's a look thing. Bills, I've been working on Riot Quest figures. 11 are done. That's more than enough to play, right? But congratulations, Bills, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and I'm looking at it. I love all the ridiculous weapons in 40K. It's why I like Imperial Guard, because they have the tanks, they have the super heavies. I still need to get my Stormlord assembled, and the flying stuff, like the Marauder and the Valkyries are so good. Let's see. Game devs wanted to call it the Castrator. Good sense and the marketing department intervened. Oh my gosh. What happens if it's a custom army? I don't know that they're going to go forward with a lot of the custom regiments or custom army stuff. It seems like from edition to edition, 40K has wanted to normalize more and remove options as far as that goes. Okay, but let's talk about Baneblade. Baneblades are great. Wait a minute, I think Baneblades are great. They're not going away, right? Yeah. Where's the rest of it? There we are. Bane blade. That's a Bane sword. There we go. Comes with armored tracks as standard. Explodes on a 6. 2d6. D6 mortal wounds. Titanic. Yeah, I guess the Steel Behemoth rule is gone. Now there's just Titanic models, which I think they were before. And what is that? 30 wounds? Yeah, 30 wounds. Holy cow. That's lovely. Stormlord only has 28 wounds, so a little bit struggling.
Just
there.
way wimpier now.
This is way wimpier. Thomas, I am working on a 3D board for Riot Quest. Thunderhead Fortress. Oh, sweet.
That sounds really cool.
That sounds amazing. Love when you actually have settings from the actual lore world. It's not all destroyed and sad. Let's see. Bane blades and their variants are confused with Bane storm, etc. Oh, yeah, I could just be confusing it.
And then the Simpsons version, which is the McBain blade.
Bane blades I can get behind. Ginormous tanks bristling with more guns than the National Rifle Association has ever seen are winners in any book. I love it. No, I always liked that because it's just a bunch of guns. And it does seem like, given the way they've simplified, like the commissar is just the commissar, like the Lord Commissar and platoon commanders and stuff appear to be gone. Let me make sure that I'm not lying. You can get a platoon command squad, but like a lot of just the individual commander models are all gone. So it seems like the layout of Imperial Guard has gotten a lot more simplified. Instead of, unit, you have an HQ choice that can give an order and either voice of command it over or use a Voxcaster to hop it over, where you're channeling a bajillion orders across the field with all of those HQs. A lot of it now is just, reduced. It's simplified to maybe only needing a handful of HQs that can get across the board. I know there's been talk about this Master Vox, which, is unconfirmed as far as its rules yet. So we will have to see what comes from that. My eyes, the goggles do nothing. Oh gosh. I like that before 40K times the Bane Blades were classified as light scout vehicles, and that's funny. Oh my goodness, no kidding.
Were they just classified as that from Epic? Because I think they were only in Epic first, right? Were Bane Blades in 40K first or Epic?
I don't know. Dave Dog, did you get an early codex for the Imperial Guard, or are you just going on the rumors and announcements? Just rumors and announcements. I am not important enough to get such things.
I say that because the Warhound Titan is considered a light scout Titan.
Well, Jacob's saying it was during the Dark Age of Tech, but that, I don't know where that fits as far as the actual game structure, because that would be like 30? No, that'd be pre-30K, wouldn't it? Around 30K?
Yeah, pre-30K, I believe.
Yeah. I wrote down some notes as well. So, there's a new rule out, according to all the rumors, called Armored Superiority, where the Sentinels, specifically my Armored Sentinels that I recently acquired a bajillion of, now count as 3 models for objectives. So, other tanks, 5, super heavies. Other tanks count as 5, and super heavies count as 10. So you are able to take more objectives with things now, which is kind of weird because we currently have the objective secured rule, and I don't know if it's going to be overriding that, making that go away. But my Sentinels will become more useful, especially since you kind of run them in a bunch of little groups. Night, y'all. Early flight tomorrow. Bye, War Budgies. Thanks for hanging out.
Goodbye.
When humanity could fire black holes at things, Jacob says. More of a lore thing. Yeah, it's kind of.
Is that different than a vortex grenade?
Maybe that's what he's referencing. Let's see. They had that Master Command Vox in late 4th or 5th edition, as I remember. Was handy at that point, not totally unit bloated. I do like the simplification where you're not generally having to pay a bunch of individual points to build out your dudes. I find it funny that the Catachan have their own data slate, and they're like 5 points more than Cadians. And Morty and Glory was giving them a lot of shade and saying they suck, but, you know, that's what I have, so they're the best anyway. Let's see, guerrilla fighters. Oh yeah, so yeah, there's a few different rules like this too. So brutal strength, moving and shooting heavy weapons, don't suffer a -1 to hit. First turn in combat and +1 strength for infantry. So that sounds super awesome for the Catachans. Guerrilla fighters help with range attacks. If you're more than 18 inches away, it gives infantry and sentinels soft cover, which is also super helpful if you're having to get up the board. Now, for the most part, you should be in cover anyway, unless you are the type of people who don't own enough terrain to really fill out a board, which hopefully won't last much longer.
Hey, we've got getting great terrain now.
Indeed. Let's see. That was the weakest weapon Dark Age of Humanity had. Black holes.
Well, they had the one weapon where it would, the thing you shot at, it would move it back in time fractionally, so it would be on top of itself. So every atom would just
Collide.
catastrophically kind of, yeah,
Jeez. That's a brutal way to go.
a pretty instantaneous way too.
The OPSEC on tanks seems weird since that's going to have to translate to all vehicles that, and they don't all have super heavies available. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with that. Time will tell on that. In the meantime, have you guys seen the Rough Riders? The new models that have been announced. I think I might have still a picture of them up. I do. Let's pull that baby up. It's so pretty. Whew. Let's see. Go back up. Throw that into the chat image. So yeah, this is the Rough Rider, the new model. And I'm kind of a sucker for cavalry, so, you know, there's that. Oh gosh, where did I put it? Right there. Isn't it just so pretty? That is the new Rough Rider model, and it has the option of a frag tip on the end of that lance or a melta tip, which is crazy, frankly. And it's not a mechanical horse, because I don't know, once it's a mechanical horse, it doesn't seem as exciting. But I think that looks lovely. And, you know, bringing some cavalry back, it kind of makes sense. Technology isn't as reliable as it used to be.
And he's got some cool shades.
It's cool shades. It's historic. Let's see. Nice cavalry right there. Great paint job also. Oh yeah, I mean, that's just the studio paint job, right? When they announce it. Speaking of Sentinels, they were recently released for Marvel Crisis Protocol. I like them a lot. Oh, like the Sentinels from X-Men? Oh, that seems crazy. They were really scary. Savage Brewski, Mechanical Horse Rough Riders. Yep, very nice. Horses in Warhammer 40K. What could go wrong? Less than when you're using machinery, actually.
On the Sentinels, how tall are those models for the Marvel Crisis Protocol?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Let's see, sorry to interject, but have you seen the new Warmachine Dusk models they showed on that Insider 2 hours ago? Didn't know. I was planning on that army, but I'm tempted to order a box online this weekend.
I didn't know they were doing one 2 hours ago.
All right, let's take a little detour. Privateer Press Land. We talk about all miniatures here. Introducing the Empire of Eternal Dusk. Okay. Yes. And let's see if I can share this discovery, shall we? Group. All right. So here's Dusk. Debuted in 2003. Goodness gracious. Let's see. Hazaroth Narcissar Ruin.
Are those the warjacks with them?
No?
Is that what I'm looking at?
Well, that might be. What am I looking at, guys?
Because it looks like a warcaster and a light warjack and a heavy warjack.
Do you guys know what happened to the Retribution? Yeah, they mostly died. Put the cavalry on a starship hull and you get Star Wars. That's right. Unless you're crazy, but that's a whole different thing. Yeah, I don't know about this, guys. So, maybe it's the paint job that's making it feel very science fiction to me.
I say it looks more Warcaster than it does Warmachine.
They feel kind of like those Orgoth models, too.
Yeah, so you've got... So there's the Narcissar Ruin. Here's this dude. What's his name again? Hazaroth. Rhymes with Azeroth. Oh, I'm just mixing all the IPs. Okay, I mean, it's a well done model. Oh, please go away. Let's see, Eidolon. So there's your word, Jack. And that's...
Looks like he has a grabby claw on his shoulder.
Yeah, but it's
Or
like
on
the
his back.
head is very, very futuristic-y sci-fi. Helith, Seer of Nightfall. Tyrus, Nis Arseer of Spiders? That's a horrible title.
Oh, she has like all the little bumps on her helmet, like she has a bunch of eyes, like a spider.
Just shoots like a bunch of baby spiders at you and just...
No, that's just what happens whenever she dies. Just like templates of little
gosh, there's
spiders
just
go everywhere.
spiders everywhere. Let's see. Cast any of the spells. Huh. There's some Sephiroth hair right there. Oh, check that dude out. Well, he looks very samurai-ish. Samurai sci-fi. New Solus. Solus are armored up a lot more. Lots of hair. So much hair. Okay, these guys look a little more normal, like the archers.
Well, that's, I guess, like a soul is what inhibits hair growth. And so once it's gone, then they just have
No!
tons of hair.
That's not how it works. Because your battle mages are not soulless. In fact, I think here we are. Seeker Warden.
Yeah, but battle mages don't have hair. See, they have lots of soul.
Interesting. So there you go. All of those things. All of them.
All the things.
All the things. Yeah, I don't know, guys. So I never cared about Retribution very much. Like they were, like lore-wise, they're fine. They were like an interesting faction, but I never cared about like the models really. They always had just a very anime feel to me. And I don't think they actually have much of an anime feel anymore. Like a lot of the faction aesthetic identity is fundamentally different.
Except for the Sephiroth hair.
But even that was different. Well, I mean, you had some long-haired people running around in Retribution, but it was just very different. It was a lot more sleek, where this has a lot more gimbaling and details on the individual models. So, but a lot of people are excited about them, so who am I to say? Like, good, enjoy the House Dusk, for sure. They're just super, super different. Let's see, that's the preview starter battle group. Mandragora, I clicked because Imperial Guard tech, but I find Retribution is back. I know, I'm just all over the place here, Mandragora. We were talking about Imperial Guard, and I will go back to it because there's still more stuff I want to yap about. Your puns are infuriating. Let's see. PvP is starting to make their models more dynamic. Flowy robes, bigger weapons, and poses. I like it so far, though I've yet to see the Mark IV models in person. All right, dynamic modeling I've heard for since before Mark III was announced. Always dynamic models. It was the excuse for why models wouldn't fit on their bases. So, like, that is still just the case. It's just something you kind of accept.
When you get too dynamic, it gets really frustrating.
What, to paint?
To assemble and to paint.
Well, yeah, Malifaux's
Says the
pretty
one
guilty
who's
of that.
working with the Malifaux models right now.
Well, Malifaux was crazy for a while where, like, you couldn't even, like, put them in a case because there are too many little thin, spindly things everywhere.
I've got a Malifaux model that has, like, this big plague thing coming up behind him. And the plague thing is so big that the model cannot stand. It just tips over.
Wow.
Make some
I
shotgun
remember
shot
there
for
was
that.
one of them that had, like, a whip or something and just
Oh,
ropes and stuff
there-
just
oh, there was
Don't worry,
the
I
spun
have
everywhere.
that one coming out. I have another whole set to paint, and she's got 2 full whips, and the whips were in 2 to 3 different parts.
Well, there's that. That's new, which is still like kind of crazy to hear. I think what you're referring to is when the 10 Thunders initially came out.
That sounds right, yeah.
And because that was years
Well,
ago.
that was these ones were 2nd edition.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about
yeah.
now,
So that is quite wild.
Yeah, that's where the dynamic pose discussion really kind of came to the forefront as people are like, I can't put these in like a foam case or anything.
Paul, I just Googled Marvel Crisis Wolverine is the height of the Sentinel's knee. Is that Miranda pick? Oh, goodness gracious. There you go.
I mean, now Wolverine
Sentinel
is to be like
Okay,
the
so
shortest
like
one,
6 or
but
7
yes.
inches tall.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, wait a minute. Now I'm wondering, did they have one at Valhalla? Did
I think the Sentinels are
did
pretty
Gary
new, aren't they?
have one? I thought somebody might have. That
He might
looks
have.
familiar now.
I played a lot of Warmachine and 40K at Valhalla, and I didn't get a chance to even try my Marvel Crisis Protocol, but it stayed busy. Let's see. Yes, hello Mandragora. To their credit, they are still the only faction with an unarmed warcaster. I mean, I don't know how much that's a creditor to, how much it's a credit to you. It's like, you're still a general. I don't know. Excuses are like spilled washes. Everywhere in common. Illinois farmer. Queen Miranda, how was Valhalla? Valhalla was amazing. I loved it so much. In fact, I think it was literally the best weather we've ever had at Valhalla. It was so pretty that most of us nerdy gamers actually took time to go on hikes because it was so pretty. See, the bulk of the Imperial Guard are from 2nd edition. They were the Praetorians. They were killed off in the same magazine. They were introduced in an orc ambush. They were the Praetorians. Okay.
Well, it's like another, like Mordian Iron Guard or Catachan or whatever. It's like another one.
Jacob, I also have a problem. I don't know which Space Marine models, Primaris or the firstborn to get. And the lower Wolverine's 5'3". Well, I mean, the firstborn are all just the shorter ones, and then you get the Primaris and they're bigger ones, and then the new Imperial Guard appear to also be larger models than the previous ones. And I think that's sort of the nature of, I don't know what to call it other than like plastic creep. It's just because they're cheaper to make, you don't have to deal with metal, you're not limited in that scope from that material. It's easy to just make models a little bit bigger, and you can shove in a little more detail. See, are there any action figure collectors in group? I can't hear anything Marvel without suddenly hearing Marvel Legends and HasLab. Well, Paul's in the house, so.
I think it's funny. Like in lore, Wolverine is 5'3". Now keep in mind that is 1 inch taller than I am.
Yeah.
So you're saying he's not Hugh Jackman height.
Not so much.
Remove like a foot.
Yeah.
Big guns go boom. I want new infantry artillery. Yeah, so the infantry also got a boost. Did I put that in there? put it in over here. There's stuff I'm looking at from like one window to another window. It's just a mess. Artillery. Do I get to know? No? Why is this a secret? Why are you hiding this from me? Internet! Oh, maybe it's under interesting weapons. Ooh. Indirect blast fire on the Basilisk Earthshaker. Nice. That's not what I was looking for, though. Go away. Yeah, the artillery got a bonus as well that was worth looking into. Sorry, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, you had it up at one point.
One that says read me.
No, that's not. That's just instructions. Who cares about that? Yeah, I don't have it up here anymore. I don't know where I saw it.
Unit stats.
That's where I initially checked. That was the first place I looked.
So look harder.
No, that's not gonna happen. Oh well. So yes, artillery seemed to be better. It looks like it makes it worth getting mortars, makes it worth getting some basilisks. Oh, there it is, bombardiers. If a Vox or Sentinel can see an enemy unit and is within 12 inches of an artillery piece, you add 1 to the hit roll, which obviously Imperial Guard need because you have ballistic skill 4. The turret weapon on the Russes and the Dorns and stuff look like they're good. Or anything with a turret, I should hope. Seem like that will help a lot, but then Bombardiers look like they're going to get a nice bonus as well. Plus, there was a sweet bit of rules change that Auspic's Tactics was talking about, where the orders are now improved. You're actually getting like AP on your actual orders, like on your weapons from an order, which is huge.
Is an order just called hit harder? Shoot
Do
harder?
better. Well, and so there's like, yeah, I think it's like first rank, second rank fire. You're actually getting an AP to your weapon. And a few of those affect melee as well. And then there's also a set of orders called prefectus orders that I guess the HQ choices may be able to provide, which are also super sweet. See if I can pull those up. Let's see. Jacob, I like the look of the firstborn, but I don't want them to get phased out. I hate the look of the Primaris, but I want to play the game. Oh, you know how that feels, right?
Yeah, I don't like the Primaris at all.
And now we can watch Miranda window shop. Yeah, I'm researching, not window shopping. Mandragora.
She was doing that earlier. That's where all the tabs came from originally.
Well, that wasn't even window shopping either. I mean, other than saying, like, yes, I would like a Rough Rider unit. Those seem really cool. Like, that would be nice. But anyway.
They come hand in hand.
Can you add Rough Riders but still maintain your like Cadian or Catachan or whatever that's called?
I mean, in
The
the
way
new
that-
edition, I have no idea. And
The way that Ogren work? Are they like that?
if you can put them in as auxiliary,
Yeah.
Maybe, but I've never actually tried to add Rough Riders to anything before. So let's see. Paul also prefers firstborn. Field Ordnance Battery, yeah. Mr. Kyle Flow. So look harder. Let's see, and more customization and personalization. Yeah, and so Jacob, I mean, it's kind of like a matter of play what you want. Do you expect firstborn to get phased out completely? They don't seem
I would hope
to be
not.
doing that. That would be a really big thing to do.
That'd be awful because then you can't have beakies.
Joy Toy exists, but they cost a premium, and I'm new to the hobby.
I'd go all in if one of the toy manufacturers started making 40K stuff at the old like G.I. Joe scale, little 5-inch models.
Not the McFarlane scale.
Yeah, those are they're real big. Like they're really cool looking for display, but the G.I. Joe scale, you can get vehicles and stuff.
That's true. That is true. So yes,
And they have more articulation.
articulation. Cool. What on earth is happening? Why do you think this? Okay. So yeah, the bombardiers I guess, rule or ability or whatever seems also super helpful. Rogaldorn, super good. Everybody's also been oozing over Sly Marbo, because everyone's been very excited that he got a bonus. And he's just like a dude.
Oozing or gushing?
Gushing. I'm sorry. You're right. They're all just screaming ah a lot. So he has this sweet ability where he can deep strike and re-roll the charge on the turn he comes out. And once per game, after completing the fight phase, you can put him back into reserve. So he can sort of deep strike in, get into the melee, and maybe do some really good damage, and then vanish like a ghost. And then come back in, charge again, and then not disappear. And then probably die. But he has a Melta-Mine keyword, and I'm super curious if that's like a suicide mine or what. No?
I think originally his was a suicide type bomb.
I thought that's how I've seen him played before.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's
Yes,
the
Hammer, you got it.
same.
G.I. Joe used to be a foot tall originally. I don't know, by the time I was a kid.
Oh yeah, they were originally like full dolls with clothes that you could put them on until they changed them later into what I recognize as a kid. But
I think my dad
yeah.
has some of the originals, so
Oh, really?
like
Yeah.
in the package still.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, come on, the Stern Guard and Vanguard veterans are really cool. Like, they can be customized. Yeah? And that was like a big thing about the earlier 40K too. There's a lot of customization. What is this, Batman? Mandragora. I have a complete Jim Lee era cover X-Men team with a few key alternates because some were just insanely expensive. 90s X-Force. And I am finishing a very decent Avengers team. Wow. I also collect the first Thunderbolts team and the Reavers. Jim Lee X-Men was the best X-Men. Paul and Miranda. If I share them on Miranda's Facebook, would she be upset? No. It's a hobby and you're working on it. I think that's fine. Share away. So yes, everyone's been very excited about Sly Marbo. I have yet to own this model, so I'm going to have to correct that position. But I was super happy to see, where's my boy? Straken got buffed as well. Where is he?
Hopefully it's not going to be totally useless anymore.
I just have to have been playing him badly. Although I also just rolled super badly, so it's like, yay, get into melee and hit. Oh, do zero, do nothing, literally nothing. Because he's pretty strong. So 5++, let me see. I think people were talking about him possibly losing his invuln save, or maybe I'm confusing that with Sly Marbo. I don't remember. Senior officer, he's core. He gets to reroll wounds versus monsters, which I believe is something he already had anyway. Issue an order to a unit. That unit gets 6 to hit auto wounds. Doesn't work on enemy vehicles. Extra buff on top of what the order does. And he gets 2 orders. So overall, not bad. They buffed his number of attacks. So instead of 5 attacks, he's got 6 attacks. And he's got 5 wounds. So he may be good. Although for the most part, it looks like it's going to be commissars, the command squad, or like maybe a tank commander or something as HQ choices for the most part. Unless you bring something specialized like Gaunt's Ghosts.
Referring to you, DJ.
It's bad. Been there, killed that. Yes, that's right. Straken is the only mini I've sent you unpainted as I didn't want to mess up your scheme. Yeah, he looks great though. I'm pretty happy with him. So I can pull this back up. So Straken definitely seemed good. We've lost like other HQ choices. I think it's just down to Commissar. You don't really have like a Lord Commissar anymore. And so you've got different officers. The platoon command squad sounds like it's a whole thing. And it sounds like it could get really expensive points-wise because you have your group of your HQ choices, which And then you can put like bodyguards in there, which seem like they will. It makes them a little bit more defensive, but at the same time, if you are getting into melee with them, maybe that's a bad thing anyway. I also am getting the impression that guards are going to go a lot more mech heavy, like mechanized infantry, with more sentinels, with more tanks coming out the gate, and not quite as much infantry spam. But that's also going to depend on how people want to play it. I gotta love my Catachan, but I don't really want to paint up 100 Catachan, for example, to have in a list. Just one question, how old are these guard models? How old would you say? I mean, a lot of they've had plastics of the Catachan, so that would be within 10 years, wouldn't it?
I think so, maybe.
Within around 10 years would be my guess. I actually don't know. I've got a lot of metal dudes as well. Mandragora, 40k Imperial Guard disappointed me since 3rd edition. They put up an army sheet with all the many, many potential variations of IG from across the galaxy, and then they push official models only. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And that sounds like GW. Or just in general.
Oh, that's right. Paul is right. So Strachan was metal, so he's older. He's probably a mold from 2005.
Gosh, did they even do a fine cast of him at any point, or has he just only ever been metal?
I don't think so, but the fine casts were just the metal molds that had resin poured into them, weren't they?
It's what it really seems like. It seems like they just took metal ones and made molds of them.
Jacob, I kind of want more specialized infantry unit like sapper, comps, etc., etc. I don't know, dude. You might be more of like a bolt action person then, because they have a lot more variation and it plays a lot more like, what was it compared to? Like 4th edition 40k?
Yeah, like an earlier one, like a more simplistic version.
Yeah. Because these specific dudes, Harker looks like he might be good to get if you're getting your Catachans into an actual fight.
Oh, what about that? What about Dylan? I'm trying to remember his name, but the special guy. Mm-hmm. Does he have new rules in here?
That's a great question, because I don't remember.
I don't remember his actual name. I just always know him as Dylan.
Yeah, he's a colonel. I don't see a colonel in here. So he might just be maybe a sergeant. 2x special weapons, no heavies or snipers. You can double up on specials. Core, platoon, las weapons range. Exploding 6s to hit. That's pretty nice. Hiya, Paul. Hold on, Predator. Catch any ghosts today? Paul doesn't catch ghosts, he identifies them. Gosh, Patty. Like special regiments
often
that have,
gets killed by them.
like special regiments that do specific things, and you get some of that with, like, you know, the Catachan are the jungle fighters. They're infiltrating guerrilla tactics fighters, and they are all of the action heroes of the 80s, basically. Then you have like Cadian, which are the famous ones with purple eyes, I think, in their lore.
Yeah, they do.
And they're like the very disciplined, amazing backbone military of the Imperial Guard. Whereas like the Catachan are the ones you go in when crap's hit the fan, nothing's organized, you just need to get the job done kind of deal. But I mean, there's a bunch of other types of units you can play, like the Valhallans and the Karskins.
Well, basically, Catachans are the guys from Predator. Cadians are the guys from Aliens.
Okay.
See, I'm trying to think of who the Talon
Not
Desert
Starship
Raiders would be from.
Troopers. Hey, Jake Dog, welcome to the chat. Appreciate you popping by. I've shared a variety to Facebook posts. They really did have a lot. Nice. Well, thank you for doing that. Let's see. identified a myling just before the stream. Oh my goodness. Let's see, my personal favorite was Homeworld Remus. They had Roman gladiator guard soldiers. Oh, weird. So just all melee then?
No, just the armor style.
Oh, okay, kind of like Thousand Sons has like a Egyptian kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Best Imperial Guard are the traitor ones. Blood for the blood dog. Bad Jake dog. No traitor guard in here. The Steel Legion, aka the coolest guard regiments. I love the vehicles.
I was gonna say, sorry, I believe you're mistaking us for mini wargaming.
Filthy
Yeah,
cast
Dave's not
scum.
here.
It's not
That's right.
here. Not impressed.
That's right, you keep your cast to yourself. Imperium all the way, man. So yeah, that was some of that. I need to see if I can get the orders pulled up because that was some really cool stuff. Yeah, that's basically where I'm at with that. Although I think this is probably a really good opportunity for a progress check. Where are you guys at in your hobbying? How's that Bronzeback Titan coming along? I
I've
see
been
you've
putting
got
them
some,
up as I've been going, so.
you've got your bases going. So can you explain a little bit about what you're doing with those bases?
Lava effect.
Okay.
Starting with white and layering darker colors on top of it to keep the glow in the recesses.
There we go. That looks way better.
It almost does, but the exposure you had it before made the lava look like it's really glowing.
It has a
Oh,
really
this one's
bright
still pretty
effect,
cool
but
even
I
on
think
here.
you catch the contrasts a little bit more. I'm just seeing.
Yeah, you definitely do.
I'm seeing the end battle in episode 3 of Obi-Wan versus Anakin.
All right, which one of these has slightly higher ground?
Obi-Wan versus toast. Burnt toast.
Oh my gosh. Indeed. Prefect disorders. I want to talk about that too. All right, so where are we at with that? How goes the paint and chatting? Hi, Matthew. Welcome. She's painting, I'm chatting. We're getting things done. If I wanted to run 4 Bane Blades, I definitely can. Yeah, I bet you can. Although that's a pretty full list at that point. GW never did too many I was pleased with. I was pleased to see Victorian miniatures do several, especially their penal legions, Bushmen and Victorian appearing soldiers. Okay. Armageddon Steel Legion. I just remember their name. Armageddon? Okay. From Armageddon. Nice. Mr. Kyle, about the Bronzeback Titan. I'm struggling to mark some scars on his back. Made the scars a bit whiter than his gray skin. Any tips? Well, scarring is usually lighter than the skin.
Scarring is usually lighter than the skin. It's also a little bit redder or pinker than the skin.
Oh, so throw in some...
So, I mean, it really depends on what the color
No.
of skin you're going with.
Well, the
it.
Bronzeback Titans are kind of elephant-like, so that I would assume they'd have kind of a grayer skin.
Yeah, yeah,
what they
so you said
usually
gray-
have.
Maybe a purple.
Whiter than his
a
gray
purplish,
skin.
a purple gray rather than just a regular gray.
So what would you paint, like, the skin would be a gray, but then you would paint the scar with a little bit of a purple and then dry
lo-
brush a white over it? Maybe something like that?
Or I would just start with a mix of a purple and gray and then go over it with a lighter gray than the skin tone.
Yeah, yeah.
Because white would probably be a little too much.
Yeah, white would definitely be too much.
There you go. There's your advice. Bye, Jake Dog. Have a great night.
Night.
Let's see. There is all of the spoilers in a lovely Reddit conversation. Who doesn't love that? Regimental orders. Take aim, +1 to hit, and +1 to armor penetration. That is super huge for last guns, right? Because ballistic skill 4, unless you have veterans, in which case you go to ballistic skill 3, especially if you can get multiple orders on models. And having an AP at all on a las gun seems crazy. And I'm getting the impression that the 10th edition is going to care about AP still, which 9th edition obviously cares a lot about anyway. Fixed bayonets, +1 to hit on melee, and +1 AP for that. The take cover rule is really nice, where you get light cover. And if you're already in light cover, you gain dense cover. Suppression fire is a weird rule. So target infantry units only, can only target one unit. Then you fire on them. If 5 or more hits are scored on the enemy unit then subtracts 1 from its hit rolls on its next shooting phase. So it's suppressing fire on that unit. But you still have to have gotten 5 hits on there.
So that's never going to apply to you. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh, you are sassy tonight. And then you got, of course, the lovely tank orders. Let's see what changed with them. So pound them to dust when using blast weapons, double the amount of models on the enemy unit. Full throttle, add 2 inches of movement, count as stationary if advanced. That's also helpful. Gunners kill on sight, reroll 1s to hit. Very nice. Blitz them, add +1 to charge rolls. If a charge is made, roll a dice and a 4-up inflicts D3 mortal wounds. If you have Dozer Blade, you add 1 to the hit roll. So then a 3-up, which is better than a tank normally does, because they're usually weapon skill 6. Shock and awe. Okay, so you can gain objectives secured with an order on the tank, which is also really kind of helpful.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Target infantry unit, if 5 or more hits are made, subtract 2 from the unit. So pinning fire, you can reduce the movement of another enemy model, which can be really helpful for preventing them from getting to specific points on the board, especially objectives. So then we've got these like prefectus orders. Let's see. Forward for the Emperor. When shooting, the unit counts as having remained stationary if it made a normal move or advanced. Okay. Duty and honor, the unit can perform an action even if it fell back. And shooting does not cause actions to fail, which I believe is when you have to go up to when you have to run up to like an objective, you actually have to perform an action. So duty and honor might allow you to do both. Get back in the fight, where you can still shoot or fight after, or charge, I should say, after falling back. At all costs, unit pains, I think it means gains, objective secured. And then each model counts as 1 extra model if it already has the ability. So you can take a diminished unit and actually still be able to achieve some good stuff with them. Show them steel, show them contempt. Add +1 to the unit's leadership, and its models can ignore mortal wounds on a 5-up. Huh.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. Remain vigilant. Units cannot be set up within 12 inches. Okay, so the remain vigilant orders sound awesome. So yeah, units cannot be set up within 12 inches. The unit can hold steady if charged, which means that your Overwatch hits on a 5-up instead of 6-up.
So units can't be set up within 12 inches. Is that like when things are deep striking in?
Exactly, because that would normally land within 9 inches of you, and then that's a much easier to charge to make.
Well, so now they just can't charge at all.
Well, I mean, they could always roll boxcars. I mean, you roll 2d6, and that's how far you can charge. So if you roll, honestly, you'd only need to roll an 11.
It says you can't
only.
Can't set up within 12 inches?
Mm-hmm.
And so what, to get into melee, you have to be, what, an inch away or something like that?
You have to be within an inch, which I guess actually does still mean you'd have to
Roll boxcars.
roll boxcars. So yeah, that's still really good. Ooh, Sonia crew, my first Malifaux. Hi, Dan Medwin in the house.
Hello.
Yes, I remember fighting Dan Medwin on Vassal. I think it was the website where we'd play. Sonia Creed kept setting me on fire. And I play Warmachine, and I kept getting set on fire in that game, too. It's a thing.
It's funny, I was watching somebody do, I guess, a reaction video to Christine, you know, the Stephen King, like, John Carpenter movie. And at one point, there's, like, this shot of Christine, like, the car's just on fire and chasing, like, a guy down the street. And I just think of, like, your Khador Warjacks, who just usually run around on fire, but they don't care.
Half the game just on fire, never going out.
Never going out, but never actually hurting them either.
Yeah. Here if you need. Hey, Miranda, I found your channel back in the day with your Warmachine bat reps. Do you have any general advice for folks thinking about filming some bat reps for Mark IV? I think that there are some places doing a pretty good job already. Tried and True has a channel. I've talked to one of the people from there before, and they look like they've got a pretty cool setup. They do a lot of the banter style. It really depends on what it is you're trying to go for. Like, what do you want a video to look like? Because no matter what it is, it's all going to be a pain in the butt and an amount of work, so you have to want to do it.
Well, there's the two major like schools of thought for Warmachine battle reports. It's, do I just set up my camera on a tripod and point it down at the table for the whole game, or do I do more the mini wargaming style of like kind of holding the camera and doing cuts? And so you kind of have to start there and figure out which direction you want to go with it.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of matters from there. And then the other thing is just make sure that you get good audio and people can understand what you're saying
Get
clearly.
good audio, and I 100% recommend having models painted, because most people are watching battle reports on like a phone, and if you just have like a gray blob or primed blob or whatever,
They can't tell.
it's just
what it
really hard to tell what things look like.
They can't tell what it is. It's not as interesting to watch. And really, if you love the game enough to be doing battle reports of it, you just want to get people more interested in it. And people are going to be more interested in painted models.
Yeah, which speaking of, just put real terrain on the table too.
We're very pro 3D terrain around here. That is apparently a
Apparently is
controversial idea in the Warmachine community, but they're wrong. It's just 3D is the way to do it. Let's see, Mr. Kyle, thanks for the tips. I will try to add some red or purple in the scars along with the lighter gray. Yeah, I think that'll probably work. Matthew Mangi, I deleted Reddit and Twitter accounts. It's wonderful. Yeah, the less social media you have, the happier you are, I think. You go out into the real world. Yeah, well, you go out into the real world and you realize like most people don't actually act like they do on the internet unless they're driving.
They can't get away with it in person most of the time. Come on.
Can't imagine saying the stuff you say on social media right to someone's face.
Oh, yeah. Let's see, I'm
So
pretty...
like, I don't want to actually get punched. I just like teasing people, making them think they can.
Well, yeah. I'm pretty sure if the Armageddon Steel Legion orders will probably be things about vehicles. Very likely. Very likely. Avengers webcam shot taken. Sorry for the blur. I cannot hold a hand straight to save my life. X-Men and others are not in this room, but this should give you an idea. Sweet. How's the new Warmachine? Honestly, I have not tested Mark IV at all, but they did announce some of the models for House Dusk, if you're curious to check that out on the privateer website.
So we're just kind of waiting till Mark IV is official so we don't have to keep learning the rules as they're figuring it out.
No, it's even like I want to go and check it out, but I have my attention pulled a lot of different directions right now, and so I kind of need to just do it when I'm ready to go. And
Hit the ground running.
yeah. Josh Potter, are we on? Are we live? Is it secret? Is it safe? Yes to all. Thunderden, got a bunch of
Say
Christmas
it's not secret.
decorations from the dollar store. Excellent source of twigs. Remove the berries and crystals and you have perfect thorns for the wall.
Plunderden's got some cool looking stuff.
Oh yeah,
Like,
he's got great stuff.
for
And
people who have some time, check out his YouTube channel because he's got some cool looking stuff on there.
and his Instagram. Let's see. How do y'all feel about 2.5D terrain, like 2D footprints with 3D removable terrain on top?
That's the best kind of forests, I think.
Yeah, it works for forests. It works for pools, probably. Hills are always a bit of a tricky thing because of the slope.
Oh yeah. Well, for like forests, there was another one with what is it, like barbed wire, or for things like that. It's not bad putting stuff down and even having the little tank traps set on top of it or something. But those can move around. Like I'm always like that stuff looks pretty good. I think it's just I just hate it when it's like, hey, look, this is a house. And it's like, no, it's a square. Just a square piece of cardboard sitting on the ground. Like you're not.
Yeah, it just has. And it's like if that's all you have to play with, that's fine. But
I don't even know if I agree with that. Just get a box. Like take something out of the fridge, just something out of the pantry, and just set a
Yeah.
box on the table. Like it's
so.
always better.
Tissue box works great for that.
I mean, a lot of it really comes down to how do you war game, and do you look at this as a game of tactics and warfare and figuring it out, or are you just playing this Mickey Mouse game and you're just trying to figure out how to rules layer over each other, and you want to remove as many variables as possible while still playing an analog game, which is always going to have variables and just
Well,
weirdly
then I just feel like you're playing like
compromising.
War Pogs or something.
But you might as well be playing with Pogs at that
Yeah.
point. I mean, honestly, if Privateer also sold Pog versions of all of their models,
Oh my god, so many people would have them, especially for testing things.
they
or
should just call it
people
War
would,
Pogs.
people would buy them for doing all that pre-measuring spacing.
They would make a bajillion dollars, and then they can maybe just go back to catering to like the casual audience who wants to paint up the really pretty miniatures. Let's see. 2.5 terrain or bust for Warmachine. All the benefits of 2D and 3D. I mean, for some stuff, I wouldn't use it for everything. Like a full building can just be a full building.
Well, yeah, a full building just has a defined footprint, and that's fine. Same with like walls.
Yeah,
stuff
stuff
like
you have to
that,
move through. I recommend.
But I understand 2.5D for a lot of stuff. I can get behind that.
You can make a house. Can't be hard, right? Josh Potter Wargaming. What's that? I thought this was a needlepoint channel.
I mean, if you want, I can start teaching you how to knit.
Never been interested. Well, that's not true. I think I learned knitting as a kid, and then I promptly forgot it.
Knitting or crocheting?
I'm pretty sure it was knitting.
It's like one
It was the
needle or
two needles.
Two. So that would be knitting.
Yeah. Matthew, I can't imagine war games being fun without painted models and 3D terrain. War Pogs is not my jam. I agree with
100%.
you, sir. Brief tangent. Did people watch Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities last week?
Not
I guess
yet.
that's out. We'll have to check it out.
I haven't watched
seen it.
yet. Paul was
But we did
raving about
watch
it,
Barbarian.
We did. I figured we could maybe chat a little bit about that. I did want to finish up thoughts on the orders real quick. A Warlord Titan doing a pog face. Yeah. I watched the first one in Pikmin's model. The first one was amazing. I didn't like Pikmin's model as much as I wanted to. I'm a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. So much I'm confused why I haven't developed the Innsmouth look. Yeah, no kidding, dude. So, real quick.
I also love H.P. Lovecraft, so I feel it.
Stuff for the tank aces also, just to kind of finish them up. I love the remain.
I just like the name Meticulous Collaborator.
Ignores enemy light cover. Ooh. Let's see, so name unknown, super heavy model only. This model gains the officer keyword and knows mechanized orders. In your command phase, you can issue one order, and the unit you select for that order can be an Astra Militarum Titanic unit. Bring on the super heavies. Yeah, so yeah, you could ignore enemy light cover. Mechanical pack rat, transhuman on a tank. Okay. Veteran commander, pick a bonus regimental doctrine. Dang. Knight of Piety, this model has a 5-up invuln save. Ignore mortals on a 5-up.
All right, so I'm starting to see a pattern here, which I'm wondering if they're going to start doing, because it looks like they're like, oh, well, you play the game normally. You roll for wounds, you roll for armor saves. But then they start introducing a lot of like, oh, well, these are mortal wounds. You just take wounds,
Yeah.
mortal wounds. And now I'm starting to see like,
Where you
all right,
can-
these are the anti-mortal wounds.
Yeah,
So
it's
mortal wounds are the anti-normal wounds, and now
stacking.
there's the anti-mortal wounds. And it's like, well, the next thing you're going to see in the next edition is like, okay, these are really wounds. Seriously, though. Asterisk. No, we mean it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's kind of always been a thing in this game, in all fairness. Master of Camouflage, get light cover from ranged attacks over 12 inches away. Titanics must be 18 inches away. So you get a little protection there. Steel Commissar gains Commissar orders and can order Ogren. Also nice things. Your psychic powers.
And that's a tank commander?
That's a tank ace.
A tank ace.
Yeah.
And so a tank ace
Can
can
provide-
order Ogren.
They can provide these
Give orders to
abilities. Yes.
Huh.
Yes. That's my understanding of it anyway. You've got some psychic powers. Let's see if I can put that back up. Which feel like they got somewhat simplified. Where is it? Oh God, what happened to it? There it is. Can't minimize this crap. Oh, that's me reading the Reddit, not this. Haha. So you have Terrifying Visions, which if you can select a unit within enemy unit within 18 inches. At the start of your command phase, you subtract 2 from the leadership, and your opponent cannot select that unit for the insane bravery stratagem, and no reroll for morale. Also, the 2d roll 2d6 if beat the enemy leadership, they fail any actions they were doing. So that is a control the area, lock down maybe some of the more elite units if you can get away with it within 18 inches. Gaze of the Empire, that's where you draw a line and you do damage along that. Psychic Barrier is interesting. That's where you get the Astral Militarium you can't set up within 12 inches of that Psyker. And models in that unit have a 5-up invuln save, which is also quite nice. And Night Shroud, which I'm just going to read it because it's complicated, but it sounds cool. So, Warp Charge 6, select one friendly Astral Militarium unit within 12 inches of the Psyker. That unit gains Trans-Hit Mental Shackles Malediction. Warp Charge, no. That unit gains Trans-Hit. No, not Night Shroud. Mental Shackles, is that the one I was thinking of? Yes. Mental Shackles, you subtract 2 from the movement of an enemy model. And then Psychic Maelstrom, which is just closest enemy within 18, suffers 1 mortal wound. So yeah, and then there's stuff about like the different warlord traits and all of that. So I think that's kind of a decent wrap up of where we're at with the Imperial Guard leaks. Obviously more to come, but I think that if you have a lot of Imperial Guard already, you're not suffering much. Like your units, your individual units, you're just not going to need as many of them, and you're going to be able to use more of your Sentinels. And we always use Leman Russes, but you can take those, but you can also take Basilisks now if you, or fill out your mechanized stuff. Get more Manticores, get even the Flyers. They all sound like they're going to be a fun time. And I lost my part in the chat. Let's see. Jacob, there's mortal wounds, but now there's body armor saves when armor piercing wounds. Let's see. But there's now body armor saves when armor piercing wounds and anti-armor. Yes, exactly. It's very complicated. Painting Malifaux, leaking 40k, chatting Warmachine. I can see what you mean by being pulled in different directions at the moment. Yeah, a little bit. And this has reading. Yes, and this has shredding, exactly.
Might be rending.
Yes.
But I like that they can also like read. They have a literacy level.
Maybe they can read. Rending, damn it. All right. There's so many rules and regulations that are confusing and specific. And that's kind of one of the things about like wargaming generally is just like, well, actually, this is how the rule works in this way. And this FAQ here said that this is how this needs to work.
Well, I think it's just I don't even know if you'd call it an arms race. I just remember it in Warcraft because I played a paladin, and mostly what you did was cleanse things. Mm-hmm. And so then they started creating buffs and debuffs that couldn't be cleansed. And then it just and then there's like a super cleanse that Priest got that could even cleanse through the things that couldn't be cleansed. It's like, oh my gosh, stop.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I wonder if like Mortal Wounds is starting to go that route.
But, I mean, how many armies? 20 some odd armies in 40k? That's a lot that you have to kind of try to account for in your core rules. Let's see, Jacob, you have legitimately somehow reminded me to do my taxes. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Josh, because instead of using principle behind game design, they want everything to be super duper special secret squirrel stuff.
That sounds correct.
That sounds like exactly appropriate. Well, you want your army, you want your faction to have its own identity. And so if everybody's playing by the same rules, then that doesn't sound like they have their own special identity. So you have to add a bunch of different special rules that sit on top of the core rules, which in and of itself isn't bad, except when those special rules then undermine the core rules, which is a problem I've seen in...
And you're no longer playing the game, but you're only playing the meta game.
Well, then there's that. How to deal with units and counter them is confusing. I mean, at the end of the day, and people don't always agree with it, but it is like 40K is generally a pretty casual game to play. Like playing at a competitive level sounds awful, honestly. It sounds really frustrating. It sounds like you have to always pick your faction that you're going to use for that year, specifically build out some special crazy list, and you just set all the meanest armies against each other. Which is fine if that's your jam, but for the most part, like a casual player has no way of accounting for absolutely everything another player is going to do. So you just figure out how your army works, play your stuff, and at least when you do play 40K, it is the type of game where you can have a conversation with somebody while playing it and chat about this and that, and it's not, just all about what's happening in the game mechanics. And so it ends up being like an enjoyable experience for the most part. Especially, as long as your opponent's like a nice human. Let's see. The only real rules interpretation here is that acrostic poem you can read in the 4th column of a hardcover rulebook. Yeah, where's the fun in just enjoying the game? And there is. And there always is. It's just when you read about all this stuff online, most of the people who are really invested in talking about the factions and the rules are going to be the hardcore dedicated players, but there's many millions likely of regular 40K players who are like, oh cool, the Leagues of Votan, this looks fun, I'm gonna just play this, and they're not thinking about how crazy overpowered it was. GW can never balance this many races or armies. It sucks. Pick the wrong army and you're dead. Quit and get to a club who house rule things to be fair. And then there's those guys who bend the rules of their games. Well, and that's where you just have to make sure you know the rules enough that people aren't cheating. But to be fair, most people in wargaming at least accidentally cheat, because frankly, there's just a lot of rules to remember. Each faction having its own identity without destroying the core rules is almost impossible when the primary driving force of the game is money. Not really. I mean, that's way too easy. Like, it's just way too easy an answer. Like, no, you can motivate just fine, but they don't have a reason to. I mean, and that can be just general laziness. Like, they make beautiful models. Most people who know about Warhammer don't play Warhammer. I mean, heck, I play more of the video games than I play the game myself, so.
Well, and I think, a fair and good game gets more players in and sells more models. I just think that they don't have a very strong work ethic when it comes to rules design. I think they approach it way too casually, where they're just like, well, is this going to conflict with anything? Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the culture.
As the critical drinker, it'll be fine.
There you go. There's that guy. And it's easy for us customers to overestimate the competency of the people who run these game companies. I mean, the people who are in charge of balance, one, balancing gameplay isn't necessarily easy, but there's a ton of game companies and a ton of people who end up in that position who probably aren't necessarily qualified to be doing it anyway.
Well, they're just people, and also they may fall into the Peter principle?
Yeah, there's certainly that too. But I mean, you even saw that with something as big as Warcraft. I mean, it was one dude balancing everything.
Yeah, you go back and learn that in vanilla Warcraft there was, I'm trying to remember his name now, but there's literally one guy that balanced all of the classes. And you're like, wait, what, just one dude? And it's like, yep. You're like, you mean this game that has literally millions of subscribers? And they're like, yep, one guy.
Yeah, and it wasn't a money thing. It was just they didn't think that was important. Like, probably nobody even asked to build that out.
It's like Kevin
Jordan.
Kevin Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, it was just him. And I remember reading the forums, and so many people were like, well, you know, the team of like mage developers really need to talk to the whoever, you know, the hunter developers are.
Oh yeah, there's this whole theory.
Everybody assumed there was this whole like division of the company that was devoted to balancing these classes. And it's like, no, there's just a guy.
Yeah.
He just does it. It's fine.
And just the company grew so fast that a lot of the positions that should have needed more people just didn't get addressed in a long, long time. And then, you know, Blizzard did his.
So I don't feel like GW falls outside of that at all. I'm
No.
sure it's pretty
No, I mean,
similar.
It's like a weird halo effect. You're like, you're a big corporation. Surely you know what you're doing. That's
No, it just means there's more bureaucracy.
one of those like childish notions that you've got to like get over when you're like, oh, you're a grown up. Surely you know what you're talking about. And then you're like, oh my God. Well, that same thing turns out it applies to like all corporations. When things run really well, it's a miracle. So anyway, that's a total tangent. Green Mountain Model says almost all of the AOS 3rd edition books have been very thematic and very well written. I mean, there's a lot of love for the Black Library as well, outside of the AOS stuff. Are these rules going to work? That's all for today. Go away now. Gee, Paul.
There you go.
I love it. Competitive games is just no longer fun. I don't like to play one specific way. I agree. But understand you don't have to. Like, there really is nothing in the world that makes you actually have to play that way. Nowadays, it's ridiculous how much a team with a couple of developers can do. That's a lie. You're a big corporation. You must know what you're doing. Exactly. Hard cut to one very stressed person in a dark room. Exactly. No, most adults just wing it. They absolutely don't know what to do. Well, exactly, because if you didn't know what to do as like a kid, nothing magically happens just because you turn 18. Like, you have to develop this whole thing. It's why kids need to grow up learning things, and you don't just keep them infantilized. It's a whole thing. Anyway, we saw Barbarian the other day, and
Speaking of
competency, oh man,
raising kids.
and raising children.
I don't know how spoilery we would want to get with it.
It's been out for a while, but I guess we should try to maybe keep it pretty spoiler-free. I think it classifies as an avant-garde film. You don't necessarily agree.
Well, maybe kind of, but it's mostly, well, it's a horror film. I mean, just on its face, and I think that's a correct assessment.
Horror thriller with a scene in the movie that made me scream my head off in the theater. So it scared the bejesus out of me.
I've never seen Miranda scream in a theater. So, there's that.
Sad that you didn't get to go.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were busy playing Kingdom Death.
I was told that it probably wouldn't be in theaters at that point, so I didn't think about it.
Oh, yeah, it was. We were the only ones in the theater, so it was kind of the tail end. A friend of ours had recommended it, said it was really good. We initially were going to pass it because we're not really big horror buffs, like, unless we take you and, again, Black Phone. One of the best
I'm
movies
not
of
a
the
big.
year.
I like a lot of horror that has like creative artwork in it, but just general like jump scare, thrasher, or not thrasher, we call it slasher, stuff like that. I'm like, I don't really care about that stuff. But this, I think it had some similarities, I would say, to something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I would kind of compare it closer to in a lot of ways.
The movie,
and Justin Long was hilarious in a lot of his scenes.
Yeah, Justin Long it's enjoyable. It's so weird. Like, in the movie, you're kind of on edge. Then you're really frustrated because there's a lot of moments of characters making some dumb decisions. Even though, I mean, I don't think you agreed with me fully, but some dumb decisions. And then it gets really hilarious, and then it gets really scary, and then it gets kind of super awkward and uncomfortable, and then it goes back to being, like, thrillery, and then it's kind of sad. Like, you go through an oeuvre of emotions.
By the way, Ed Allen just asked, what are the figures on the turntable?
What are they, Miss Flo?
It is the Sonia Creek crew for Malifaux.
And that man is on fire.
It's a skeleton.
That skeleton, that former man is on fire.
It's the totem. So
looks great. Love your fire effects.
But I wouldn't suggest it to everybody.
I wouldn't
as a
suggest it to
movie?
most people.
Okay, that's probably fair. But if you like horror at all, and
And you are a fan of like old 70s horror.
yeah, well, right? Like if you like horror at all, I would suggest it because it is good for anyone who enjoys horror. But if you're interested in just sort of like unique or creative, new sort of ideas, then I would suggest it to you as well.
Which is kind of frustrating because when I read the IMDb reviews, there was a lot of people complaining about it not feeling original, which I disagree with. Like it is like watching an A24 film, if you're familiar with that.
Okay, yeah.
Art
Even though
house.
this one is a Blumhouse, which is kind of similar, I believe so.
No, it wasn't. It was two other companies, Stone something or
Was it
other, and
not?
then like
Oh no, the
We'll Get Never Sometimes
Terrifier
movies.
2
Yeah,
was the
Terrifier 2.
Blumhouse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally
Yeah.
different. No, this was not a Blumhouse flick. This was not an A24 flick, but it kind of felt like an A24 flick on a horror. If you were to make a horror in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of feel.
Approach?
Yeah, approach,
Yeah.
I guess. I'm not really.
It's not real gory or anything like that.
No, but it's plenty gross.
It is kind of gross a little bit in a few places.
There's a lot of ick,
But
honestly, in it.
But it's not
Body
gory.
horror is what I'm guessing.
Not even that, actually. It's just people being disgusting.
So I don't know. But yeah, I would definitely. So I would suggest it to those groups. But yeah, most people don't fall into those groups, and so I would not suggest it to them because, I mean, if you read the reviews on IMDb, a lot of people did not like it at all. But I think it was very creative, and so I think there is definitely a subset of people who would definitely enjoy it, and I think for good reason.
Yeah. And it feels like if you're more of a movie person, movie buff, filmmaker type of person, you would appreciate what it was doing. I think for most people who just sort of want to watch a normal movie, you're probably going to be disappointed. Did I miss the House Kalis hot takes? Yeah, a little bit. We talked about that earlier. I had to preface it with I was never a big fan of the Retribution models, and it's summed up to they look awfully sci-fi with a little bit of like samurai influence.
Well, I thought the model design looked a lot like the model design that they've been doing for the Orgoth.
Yeah, and we can just poke right back into it real quick if you like. There's our Dusk House Kalis stuff. I mean, and a lot of people are excited about them, so good. They're obviously appealing to the right people. This feels like a Warcraft character, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. What's he look like? I mean, I appreciate that they're putting painted models up and you're not looking at 3D renders. That's nice, honestly.
So, I mean, a lot of this, gosh, there is also a lot of just sort of the Scorn line work in it as well, which is interesting. I don't know.
All of these plates, there's so much more gimbaling than Retribution ever had. Like, they've completely, fundamentally changed the identity of Retribution.
Well, and I wonder, right, because that was more the way Scorn was, these sort of plates bolted onto stuff and sharp.
Yeah, if you made this
edges
red
and
and
all that
gold,
stuff.
it looks exactly like a Scorn model.
And whereas
With more hair.
Retribution had the smooth curves, and they reminded me of like the Protoss and the Protoss and a little bit in StarCraft, but also the Invid in the old Robotech series.
Okay, the helmets especially, right?
Yeah, and so like they don't have any of that now. Like that's gone, and it seems like they just lean more toward. I mean, I don't know. I still say they kind of lean between like Orgoth and Scorn now, and so I don't know. It feels like they kind of have lost a little bit of the.
I get a little Crix vibes off this.
Well, it's because she's the what is it, the Arseer of spiders.
No, this is
No, go down.
Helith, Seer of Nightfall. This is.
Oh wait, who's the one right below? There you go.
Tyrus Nisar of Spiders is
it's
this
him.
guy. He's the Spider-Man.
Huh? Which it. Like the other girl's helmet looked more like a spider face than, like he doesn't have anything that resembles spiderness.
But
I
like
guess his little smokestacks.
yeah.
Those aren't really smokestacks, but the little Arcantric turbine.
Yeah, so I mean, time will tell. The people, again, I think it's appealing to the right audience. I am not that target audience. So, there you go. Maxicorn, hey man, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Even though we're kind of about to sign off here.
Oh, it's his birthday today.
Did you see? Oh, it is? Happy birthday. Let's see. Did you see my costume Halloween outfit on my Facebook? I didn't. I'll have to check that out. New Dusk models are way too Warcaster for me. I'm a little concerned about.
See, that's
getting
what I
to
said.
support
They
or
felt very
setup.
Warcaster.
They do. I mean, it seems like it was just a a lot of the same designers probably. I mean, that would make sense. I was pretty bummed they're leaving the fate of legacy armies to people who are probably hardcore tourney players. It's too bad I cannot send them here. Looks like they're lurching all over the place. Lurch, lurch, lurch. So I can hang out a bit to try and improve my... Oh, I'm sorry your birthday sucked. Well, we were chatting about Imperial Guard stuff, and I don't actually know if you're a 40k kind of guy or not, but, you know, there's stuff about, you know, some of the retribution, former retribution, the remains of Ios, the 50 people who remained or whatever.
Also, we had considered some discussion about the War Room app
Yeah,
today, but I don't
that's
know how
true.
much room there is for that.
I poked at it. I mean, it's kind of in beta, so there's not a whole lot to talk about yet. I was able to make some lists that seemed perfectly stable on my tablet. You get an idea of what models are from your current factions, the existing factions before Mark IV, which one of those models get to go forward. And I'm sad that it's only like Manowar Sorsha. Dislike that, but whatever. So you can kind of get an idea of whose models are not going to be usable in Mark
Well, it's
IV.
kind of weird and annoying because they're like, all right, Sorsha, we're going to stuff her in a Man-O-War suit, and that's going to be Sorsha. And now also we've introduced this new female Khador caster who's this like thin, fast, like, you know, female model. And you're like, wait a minute, what? I mean, that's just Sorsha. What are we doing here?
They're Black Widowing her, just memory hole. You're too old now, go away. Let's see, I'm working on Horus Heresy Space Puppies again. Oh gosh. Yeah, honestly, for Dusk is pretty much Orgoth for me, style-wise. Yeah, I can see that. The new Warmachine app is already so much better than War Room is. I can boot it twice in a day without re-downloading every single portrait for no reason. Oof, that is not a problem I had. New Khador is more Zerkova. Maybe, I can't... Well, yeah, she's more Zerkova because she led the Grey Lord Covenant. So, there's that. I mean, it seems like a perfectly stable app. You know, you've got your forces, if that will load. There you go. Set your army size, all of that sort of thing. I'm sure that looks horrible. Yay, there's my little 50-point list. I like how quickly 50 points fills up, and then you get to put in your command cards. And I haven't made a force on the news side, so I have to get in there with my Grimkin. Let's see, Grimkin. Where's the...
Well, Patty's saying, unfortunately, Grim can have some serious oddities in their rules.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me either. So... yeah, I'll have to figure out what's going on with them. Because their command cards, they got more command cards than Khador gets. So, I don't know. Stuff to figure out another time. But it's in beta, so it's like, you know, you're just poking around at it, and it's like, it seems fine. It's free to download. So it's not like, you know, you can't just poke at it if you want. Everyone Imperial Guard are like the rifleman troops and Khadoran troops of the Widowmakers. Kind of. Grimkin are definitely going to have some teething pains in their command card shenanigans. Oof.
I would say the Winter Guard riflemen are very Imperial Guard-ish. Like, not the ones with the blunderbusses, but the ones with the...
The Rifle Corps?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Rifle Corps, that's it.
Yeah, I can see that. A rifle corps that I've never even assembled. Ho hum. All right, well, I think we're going to call it here. I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and we could talk about some fun, probably holiday plans happening there. And then my stream at the end of the month should coincide with the release of Darktide, and I will just be playing video games all day. So I'll be streaming, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So just
You are
FYI.
forewarned.
You are forewarned. So hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Happy hobbying. Keep your chin up. Happy birthday, Maxicorn.
And good night, J. Alex.
And good night, J. Alex. Bye.